Turkey. Wasn't listening to y'all.
Good.
I'm not listening to other people's.
Everybody, thank you for coming to our Lunch and Learn. This is Jennifer Merchant, and she works for Markstrom Acupuncture. And she's here today to talk to us about 5 simple steps to nutrition. So take it away.
All right, thank you for having me. So like she said, I'm Jennifer Merchant. I work at Markstrom Acupuncture, Markstrom Natural Health as a clinical nutritionist. And before I get started with the topic, I just like to quickly introduce, hello. I just like to quickly introduce myself so you get an idea of my background, where I came from, how I got here, and what I do now. So like I said, I'm a clinical nutritionist right now. Hello. So I kind of got into this field through my own personal journey. So when I was younger, I had a lot of weird stuff kind of going on with my health that no one could really understand. There were just kind of annoyances that I would go to the doctor and they'd be like my vision would go black like all the time, and I'd get really dizzy. They're just really random things that would happen to me on a constant basis, but if they weren't like, I guess like that big of a deal, but they would have me run all these tests to see what was going on, and every single test that I would take would come back normal. So I would have to get like an EKG, MRI. I had to do a glucose test. So if you've ever had a glucose test, that was like the last one for me. A glucose test, basically they have you drink a really sugary solution, which in itself is not that fun, after you haven't ate anything for a very long time. And then they take your blood every half hour for 4 hours to test your sugar. And I hate needles, like I was definitely afraid of needles. And I was like 12. So they were like taking my blood, and I was like all bruised up after, and I was like, okay, came back normal, of course, like all the other ones. So after that, I was like, all right, I just started learning about it. So I was like, no, I don't have any more, I'm better. Like, I don't want to get more tests done, they're all fine. So basically that's how it happened, which was all fine and well in the beginning. And then I progressed in my late teens, early 20s. I had a lot of like really bad digestive issues. I had really bad anxiety. I was getting like sick all the time. Just a really weak immune system. And on top of that, I was diagnosed with endometriosis, which is a reproductive condition, which is really painful. And basically with all of these things, they couldn't do anything for it. Especially with endometriosis, they would basically get told you deal with it until you're done having kids, and then you get a hysterectomy and take everything out, and that's like your only plan of option. So I dealt with that for a little bit until randomly got exposed to some natural health topics, and I started experimenting with diets, not really thinking I could heal that part of things, but kind of working towards the digestive anxiety things, and I got a lot better just by working on dietary changes, natural changes like that. And then also I figured out I got a little bit of improvement in endometriosis too. So that was like the big clicker where I was like, okay, there's something here, and that's when I kind of decided to go as deep as I could in this area and learn as much as I could to fix myself. And then I decided to, once I got a lot better, then I decided to go make it official and get certified. So I got certified at the Integrative Health Practitioner Institute out of Boston, Massachusetts. And now, like I said, I'm working at Markstrom Natural Health, so I work with people every day on balancing everything out and kind of gaining their health back. So that's just a little bit of background information about me and how I got here. So today's topic is 5 nutritional tips that anyone can do. So before we get into these, I just want to put a short disclaimer. As we go through it, you're going to notice I'm not very specifically talking about what foods you should or should not be eating in these 5 tips. These 5 tips are going to be things to add on that are going to strengthen your digestive system and create any diet plan that you're following, bring it to the next level. The reason I don't go specifically into specifics on food and how many carbs, proteins, things like that is because that's very individualistic and it's going to depend on the person. So for example, the diet that works best for me and my body is going to be a little bit different than what works best for you, and everyone here, which we will get into a little bit at the end. But so everything on here are 5 things that I can suggest pretty unanimously for everyone that will bring you up to the next level with anything that you're currently doing. So step number 1 is to start your day with an easy to digest breakfast. So first, what this is going to do is it's going to slowly wake up your digestive system. So if you think about if you were just sleeping, pretty much, you sleep, say, 8 hours, and you stopped eating dinner a couple hours before that. So you're going on 10 to 12 hours of not having any food. So when you wake up in the morning, your digestive system is also sleeping. And if you eat a very heavy, hard to digest breakfast, it kind of like shocks in, and it can be very hard for your digestive system to properly break that down. So when you start your day with an easy to digest breakfast, what it's going to do is slowly wake up that digestive system so it's less of a shock. You won't have to use as much energy to break that down. And then also it's going to kickstart your metabolism because you're going to, for example, the biggest thing that I recommend is like starting your day with a smoothie if you can. So if you drink a smoothie, that's pretty much manually already broken down. You just have to digest what's left. And so the smoothie itself is going to be fully digested and moved on from your stomach in about an hour. And if you think about that, say you eat your breakfast at like 8 a.m., by 9 a.m. that's already broken down and moved on, but your metabolism is already up and running, your digestive system is up and running. So after that, you're basically just burning calories and going full speed ahead until you eat lunch. So it's a really good way to kind of get things woken up, get things moving in the morning without asking your body to use too much energy by shocking it with something that it's not able to handle at that time. So 30% of your digestion of the day is used, or 30% of your energy for the day is used on digestion. So in the morning, especially if you're find it hard to get going, kind of sluggish, things like that, then you'll notice you might have a bit of an energy boost in the morning if you start doing like easy to digest things like a smoothie, because you're getting your nutrition in still, but you're not asking your body to spend so much energy on digestion. Number 2, drink half your weight in ounces of water each day. So 60% or more of our bodies consist of water, and especially in our brain it's even more. So if you're even slightly dehydrated, like 1 to 2% less than what you should be, then you can start getting effects like a little bit of a headache, sometimes brain fog, lack of concentration, things like that that might not be super acute, but they're there in the background. So we want to make sure we're drinking half of our weight in ounces of water each day. So for example, if you weigh like 150 pounds, then your goal would be to get 75 ounces of water into your body every single day. So the 8 glasses of water every day that people kind of recommend, 8 to 10, that's a good starting point. Most people aren't even getting close to that. So if you do that alone, you're going to get yourself up there. Once you're already doing that, then you can take this into consideration and take it up to the next notch. But basically, drinking your water is going to improve all functions across the board in your body, including strengthening your digestive system. And another thing that it's going to do is it's going to help flush out toxins. So a lot of the toxins that we're getting rid of, we're constantly having to deal with toxins in our body, and we have to get rid of those by putting them into your intestines and kind of getting them out of your system through your waste products. And so getting water is going to kind of just help flush all of that out so that your detoxification system and your digestive system functions at the optimal level every day. Another thing that drinking half your weight in ounces of water each day, who here has cravings for sugar, like often? Anyone? So a lot of the times sugar cravings are actually just dehydration, but it comes through as the same feeling as a sugar craving. So if you ever have sugar cravings and you don't want to eat like something sweet, what you can do is just drink a really big glass of water and then wait like 10 minutes and then see how you feel. And like 8 out of 10 times, that's going to help with your sugar cravings quite significantly. So that's a little trick that you can use too, especially if you're new on like a diet plan or you're used to eating sweets a lot. This trick will kind of help with that transition period. So number 3, space your meals 3 to 4 hours apart. So this one is really important because it allows time for your stomach to fully digest each meal and move it on to the next part before you add anything new in. So in order to kind of explain this, I'm going to bring in a fun little experiment that maybe you have seen. Has anyone seen the experiment? There's like videos on the internet all the time, and sometimes you do it in school. But you take a Coca-Cola bottle and you add either like a Mentos or baking soda to the Coca-Cola bottle. Okay. So if you've seen the experiment, or if you haven't, you can like look it up on YouTube. But basically, the Coca-Cola bottle, you add the Mentos into it. The Coca-Cola is very acidic. It's a very acidic product, and then the Mentos is very basic. So those are two opposite sides of the spectrum. So when you add the Mentos into the Coca-Cola, what happens is it basically explodes. Like, it doesn't just kind of like lightly bubble over a little bit, like it shoots straight up like a fountain. It's really cool if you actually do it and do the experiment. But to show you what kind of happens when you are eating constantly, like not spacing your meals 3 to 4 hours apart, when you eat a meal, basically you're breaking it down by using stomach acid. So comparably, the food in your stomach about an hour after you eat it is much more acidic than it was when you first put it in there, because it's slowly breaking down. It's turning more acid. It has to reach a level of acidity before it can pass on to the next level. So if you think about that, if you have very acidic food in your stomach and then you eat more food on top of that, the food that you're adding into your stomach is more basic compared to the acidic food that you already have. So a similar reaction to that experiment is going to happen in your stomach, but on a lower level. So if you have like stomach pains, bloating, gas, things like that after you eat, that could be part of the reason why. So one easy way to kind of reduce those symptoms would be just spacing your meals 3 to 4 hours apart, letting anything that you eat get fully digested and moved on before you add anything new in there. Another thing that spacing your meals 3 to 4 hours apart can do is it improves your blood sugar regulation. So anytime that you eat a meal, whether it's super healthy or not, whether it has sugar or not, your blood sugar is going to spike a little bit. That's just like a natural process that occurs. And that's good. It's kind of how it's supposed to work. So ideally, say you're eating your meals 3 to 4 hours apart. This is what it would ideally look like. Like, you wake up, your blood sugar is kind of steady. You eat breakfast, it's going to spike a little bit, but over the next couple hours, it's going to readjust itself back to the normal level. Then you eat lunch, it spikes a little bit, and then it readjusts. Then you eat dinner, spikes, and then it readjusts. But if you're eating like every hour, or just like snacking throughout the day, or eating more often than that, what can happen is you wake up and it's normal, and then you eat breakfast and it spikes, and it starts to readjust, but then you eat again, so it spikes, and then it starts to readjust, and then you eat again, so it spikes. So you can see how that can go a lot higher than if you were letting it come back and regulate itself throughout the day. So that's another thing that's going to be important, especially for long term. That can cause, blood sugar regulation, starting to go into pre-diabetic, things like that. So it's a really easy way to just make sure your blood sugar is regulated moving forward. So an example of this would be eat 3 meals per day with an afternoon snack. So I throw an afternoon snack in there because most of the time people are eating lunch at this time, like 12:30, but might not be eating dinner until like 6 o'clock at night. So there's about 6 hours in between there, 6 or 7, depending on when you eat dinner. So that can be a long time to go without eating. But if you add an afternoon snack in there, you're still going to have the 3 hours in between each time you eat to regulate everything, but then you're still getting that afternoon snack. So by the time you get to dinner, you're not starving or anything like that. So number 3 is space your meals 3 to 4 hours apart. Number 4 is along the same lines, but a different level of it, would be complete a 12-hour overnight fast each day. So basically fasting, you've probably heard of intermittent fasting. It's like a hot topic right now. Fasting is a really good tool that we can add on, especially if we add it on to a healthy diet that we're already following. It's an even greater tool to just bring that up to the next level. However, I don't always recommend a 16-hour fast for everybody, because especially for premenopausal women, it can get kind of dicey with hormones and things like that. So we want to be careful. It can be appropriate for some people, but I don't recommend it for everyone. So I recommend completing a 12-hour overnight fast for pretty much everyone, unless you have any blood sugar dysregulation issues that you would want to work out first. Other than that, 12 hours is going to be good. You're going to get 98% of all of the benefits of fasting with a 12 to 14 hour overnight fast. But basically fasting allows your body to enter into something known as autophagy, which is basically your body's way of cleaning out damaged cells and toxins. So basically how I describe autophagy is before I got into this field, I worked like a standard desk job. And how I describe it is basically, as I was working, I would get work come in. People would put stuff on my desk to get done, and everything would have different deadlines, different level of importances. So the things that were most important or had the biggest deadline would obviously get done first. But if I had too much coming in for me to do, the things that were less important or didn't need to be done until like a few weeks or something like that would get set over here, and I'd get to it when I got to it. But then this pile might add up a little bit, and everything that's important is getting off the desk. Same thing happens in your body. So we're constantly taking in toxins, exposed to chemicals, things like that on a daily basis, whether it's through the air, chemicals that we're putting on our body through like lotions, shampoos, things like that, or food products as well. And even if you're eating very healthy foods, every food that we eat does have waste products associated with it. So you eat it, your body's going to absorb all the nutrients and take everything that it can use from the food, and then everything that's left over, there's always something left over, exits your body. So we are always constantly processing things that we put into our bodies. So same thing happens, your body's going to take the most important things, and what it can, it's going to process it out and get it out of your system. But the problem is that we're exposed to so many things now that sometimes our natural detoxification system can't keep up all the time. So what it does is it has to get these things out of your bloodstream, because if it leaves it in your bloodstream, you're going to get really sick. Like, our blood has to be very the same all the time. So what it does instead, anything it can't process out right away, it's going to store in your fat and muscle tissues. And with the idea that it's storing it there for now until you have time to, it gets a chance to like go back in and process it once everything else is taken care of. So now if we go back to my office analogy, once I get a little bit of a break from here, then I can come back and start working on these things and get off my plate. So same thing with the body. And once it actually gets a break, it's caught up on everything it needed to get out right away, then it can go and start pulling from the fat and tissue anything that is stored there, but it's going to take in smaller amounts, only what it can handle at one time. Right, so fasting is going to allow your body to do that, because if you take 12 hours of not, food is the main thing that we're putting into our body on a daily basis all the time. So if we take 12 hours overnight, you're sleeping, you're probably not exposing your body to too much new things when you're just like laying in bed. So also, if we get the added 12 hours of overnight fasting, then that's 12 hours that you don't have to process anything new going into your system, and then it's going to take your body about 3 to 4 hours to process everything from like the dinner and that day. Once that happens, the rest of the time, it can go in and pull little pieces from the stored sections and get out of your body. But it's not going to happen like overnight. You're not going to get everything out of your body overnight, because over time, over years and years of this, you're going to have a lot stored up. But it's a daily thing that when you do it every day, it's going to slowly catch up and catch up, and eventually you're just going to be back to kind of like what you did for that day. So autophagy, that's really important, and then it's also going to improve blood sugar regulation, because we're kind of taking a break from processing new things. So 12-hour overnight fast is going to help with that as well. Again, if you already have blood sugar problems though, you might not be able to do 12-hour overnight fast right now. You just have to kind of work with that, get that balance before you do this. So example of this would be 12 hours might sound like a long time, but example would just be like if you stop eating dinner at 7, you just wouldn't have breakfast until 7 a.m. the next day, which is pretty easy, relatively easy to do. The hardest thing for people with this is to not do any midnight snacking or late night snacking before bed. So one trick that I like to suggest is after you eat dinner, like go brush your teeth and like do whatever you can, like get some mint in there or something, and that might help you not want to put food in your mouth because it will change. You know, when you brush your teeth, you don't really want to like put food in it because it's all clean. So that's a little trick that you can do to help with the 12-hour overnight fast. When the 12-hour overnight fast is combined with starting your day with an easy to digest breakfast, that's going to be like really powerful. Like if you could only, I always say, as we're going through these 5 things, pick one thing that you want to pick. Don't try to do all 5 of them at once. That might be a little overwhelming. So pick one thing, but if you did want to start with 2 things, I would put the 12-hour overnight fast and the easy to digest breakfast together, because you're doing 12 hours of not eating, and then starting your day with the easy to digest breakfast is going to slowly wake up that digestive system, slowly wake up your body again in the morning, and get it functioning before, lunchtime. And then the last one here is move your body 30 minutes per day. So moving your body 30 minutes per day, you're probably like, that's more exercise. That doesn't have to do with nutrition. But it does, because moving your body 30 minutes per day, even if it's just walking, is going to strengthen your digestive system. And it kickstarts your metabolism and digestive system, not only while you're working out, but up to 48 hours after your workout. So if you only do a workout every other day, then your digestive system is functioning better all the time, pretty much, because you're getting those benefits throughout the next 24 to 48 hours. So all you have to do really is you can do walking. If you want to do like an actual workout, that works too. If 30 minutes is a lot for you, you can start with like 15 minutes and work your way up. It's all incremental. Like, look at what you're doing now and how can you just get a little bit closer to that. The first step before you do like workout programs, the first goal is always do 10,000 steps a day. Now, 10,000 steps, most people, the average person in America gets like 3,000 to 4,000 steps per day. So 10,000 is a big jump. So if you track your steps for like a week and you're getting an average of like 3,000, then the following week try to get like 4,500 or slowly work that up. But that in itself, you're going to get a lot of benefits from that with improving your metabolism, strengthening your digestive system, and then you can add a workout on top of that once you reach the 10,000 steps.